Redditors, what's the most heartbreaking thing you've overheard someone say about you? I was at my longtime boyfriend's college reunion. All of a sudden, a beautiful woman came into view, and he got all excited, saying, "Rose, is that Rose from my class, blah blah." She was a former classmate and came over to our group. My ex then put his arm around me and said to Rose, "I had a big crush on you in college. If this one meaning me ever gets hit by a car, I'm gonna call you because you're really the one for me." Cue the awkward silence. Suddenly, every red flag I'd been ignoring was waving in my face. Thanks, Rose, for suddenly appearing. Without you, I would have endured a horrible marriage and a messy divorce. Heard my partner laughingly tell friends I was a placeholder until someone better came along. Overheard my in-laws say they hoped our marriage wouldn't last because I wasn't good enough. My granny had dementia. One evening she saw the trailer for the movie Armageddon on TV and thought it was the news. She was in her bed crying while my parents were trying to comfort her, and I overheard her say to my parents, "You need to protect her, me. Go hide and take care of her. She is such a nice little girl. Leave me behind, I'll slow you down. Please take her to safety and tell her I love her." I was really moved by that. She was ready to sacrifice herself and face the end of the world alone to keep me safe. Well, get ice cream later if you just play with her for a little while. She's like that because her mom just died. You won't have to deal with her forever, her mom said to a girl who I thought was my friend and had appreciated up until that point, because she was the only one who I thought wanted to play with me after my mom died, even though I would sometimes start crying out of nowhere and had severe anxiety. I was 9 and didn't play with anyone for over a year after this because I assumed I was making people deal with me by being around. I kind of struggled in elementary school. It was a Catholic school that charged tuition. One night I overheard my mother say something like this to my father, "We keep paying all this tuition money for what? For her to be stupid?" When I heard my best friend tell someone, "I only keep her around because I feel sorry for her. That one is going to be in heat soon," a friend of my grandfather to him. He agreed. I was 12 and the only thing I was interested in were horses. They were well into their 80s. I felt so disgusted being talked about and viewed like that. When I first met him I didn't want to be his friend. I thought he was annoying, but eventually he just stuck around. I don't remember the exact words, but that was the gist of it. I heard that shit on my birthday and cried in front of everyone. Elmo. I think it's also a big reason as to why I don't act like myself around others. I'm always just super quiet. I don't want to be annoying again. Accidentally saw my dad joking about me and slamming me to his and my boss on email on the family PC. We worked at the same company for a time. I won't pretend I was an angel, but that hurt a bit. A girl I liked in school in the 90s, but hadn't actually met, after seeing my pics said to my friend, "I wish he looked how he sounded on the phone. He sounded so much better looking on the phone." We'd been chatting for a while. She didn't know I could hear her. I died a little that day too. My dad yelling to my mom that her daughter me is a stupid cunt. It was night. He screamed her awake to say this. And he was mad because I turned on the light to go up the stairs. Mind you, he was still awake. But apparently you need to be able to get up the stairs with no light. Overheard my fiancé tell their friend they were only marrying me for my money. When I was 12 or 13, I spent a summer with my aunt in another state to give my single mother a break, I guess. Back then I adored my aunt and just thought it was a fun, exciting summer getaway. Like camp or something. My mother was neglectful and extremely abusive. I told my aunt and her boyfriend about things my mom had done over the years and they listened, but never really made any comment. One night they were on the porch and I was supposed to be sleeping in a room which had windows that opened onto the porch. I heard my aunt's boyfriend say I was the biggest bullshitter had ever known. My aunt agreed and said, "Someone needs to keep an eye on that one, she's manipulative as hell." 2 years later I was in foster care because of the abuse and because my mother simply disappeared, and to this day, 30 years later, I still think my family holds me responsible somehow. Not that I've spoken to any of them in several years. Overheard a conversation between my mom and grandmother when I was a teenager pretending to be asleep. My mom said, "She's so desperate for love and attention, I'm worried she's going to get knocked up or end up with someone bad." My mom literally never said "I love you" to me in my life. I once asked her for a hug and she told me she found it disgusting to touch me. I told her I needed to feel loved and her response was, "I thought you'd have a boyfriend by now." When I overheard that conversation I wanted to run out of the room and scream in her face. I had been begging her to even slightly fulfill her role as a parent for years, and her takeaway was that I was fucking desperate for attention. My roommate was a good-looking guy that girls liked. One time when we were out, I overheard the two girls we were chatting up refer to me as the excess baggage. I once overheard a close friend say I was really important to our group, just to tag along. I jokingly said that I'm pretty, and I deserve a handsome man to my mom and uncle. When I left the room I heard them laughing, so loud and mocking me. She thinks she's beautiful. I don't think she ever seen her face in a mirror. That was my mom, and it broke me that I wasn't really family because I was a step kid. My father confessed this had been said by someone in my stepmother's family after I asked why said person was not at my high school graduation. It has since been explained that this is not exactly what was said, and that this was only how my dad took it at the time, and that he was still mad when he explained it to me. But still, at 17, when I was already struggling to figure out who I was, that hurt. And it did a lot of damage between me and my stepmom's family. If I'd have known she'd be retarded, I would have aborted her. I'm autistic. Most days I wish she'd aborted me too. When I was a teenager, my dad and mom were divorced for the second time, and I was not able to maintain a healthy communication with either. I always thought they loved me, but they just did not know how to communicate. I was living with my dad, and his wife disappeared for over a week. My dad never said anything to me, but I knew something was fishy. One day I secretly went through his messages to understand what was happening, and I found an SMS from his wife. Turns out she left the house because I invited my friends to stay during the weekend when they were away. Along the messages, she referred to me as the boy no one accepted and got stuck with them. She said things that were not real, such as me causing endless problems in the house. Due to my childhood traumas, I never expressed dissatisfaction or demanded a thing, and I was an extremely introvert, almost never speaking guy. I almost never communicated with them. My dad never denied in his messages and even implied that he was agreeing with her. They later made peace somehow when she returned home, but I left the house soon after because I knew I was the biggest burden in their family. Overheard my best friend and his wife talking, and while I forget the exact words, I was essentially, "You don't want to be a loser. I mean, look at me, it hurt." But he was right. Out of school making shit money at a terrible job, not pursuing anything worthwhile, single, awkward, smoking weed all the time, out of shape, lazy, undisciplined. That was like 13 years ago, and my life isn't like that anymore. It was hard to hear, but also necessary. I wanna send some love out there to everyone here because you guys, damn. We as humans really need to start being better to each other. My answer: I was homeless as a teenager. So was my dad, and at one point, instead of payment for his work on an empty house, his boss let us sleep in it on the floor. Since my dad wasn't being paid, we couldn't get any food, so a couple of my friends offered to feed me a few times. I refused, and then I'd ask if they were sure if they pushed, multiple times every time, and they always insisted, and wouldn't drop it until I ate. Then I heard one of them say how they wished I didn't eat their food, they were sick of it. They also still offered, and pushed it on me after that, and I refused, never told them I knew they said it. Also stopped accepting food from anyone, period, for a really long time. Are you sure she is telling the truth? Filters down from the stairwell, from my aunt to mother after my disclosure of my father's molestation and abuse. About me and my best friend at the time. I don't think there is a strong friendship around us, except between Cedrella and X I call BS. They are not friends, it's just Cedrella following X around like a puppy. This was one night at summer camp. We were 6 girls, sharing a room. I pretended to be asleep, my best friend sleeping, and the other 4 gossiping around. I already struggled with my self-esteem, so hearing my best friend may not really like me, but just tolerate me, was gut-wrenching. She used to be so hot, what happened to her? Chronic illness will do that to you.